Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. Woo, sister. Normally, we're a little more jovial and cheerful, and we're coming back at having been off a couple of weeks. And I tell you what, the news cycle just went all up in the face. How you doing today?
I'm doing better. I'm doing better. I was frustrated earlier. You look very nice, by the way, sister. I didn't say that
Oh,
earlier.
well, thank
Um,
you.
you're welcome. I'm just really slumming it today, but but yeah, I'm better now. But to your point, the news cycle doesn't stop, and man, if you aren't careful between the music, the news, the social media, all of it, you can really, find yourself messed up, basically.
Yeah. Hey, Jody, thanks for tuning in tonight. We appreciate you for joining us.
Hey,
So
Jojo.
we've been off a couple of weeks. So first week it was the Sunday post my conference and my birthday, and I was going into my rest hiatus. Then we had Mother's Day. So we've had a few weeks where we've been off here. We got a whole bunch of guests lined up for you for the rest of May and June. So we're really excited about that. We're looking forward to some great shows. Yes, it's too much. It can be way too much. Um,
Indeed.
but that's what we do here at Hey Sister. We have those uncomfortable conversations about the things that are way too much. And so we're gonna go ahead and dive in and start with what is another mass shooting in Buffalo, New York, in a Buffalo ain't that black. Like, let's talk about that. So, really targeting African American shoppers, the black community there with this terrorism, this domestic terrorism, and this fallacy about being replaced and or supremacy, because we know it's all a fallacy. um Someone decided to go to a grocery store yesterday and kill people, and just happened to also be taken into custody without being shot at once, not even tased. So, but when I put the name of this episode, it's like, here we go again. Like, here we go again. Just as I was preparing to get ready to come on. I was like, we got a shooting in Orange County, California at a Presbyterian church. Here we go again. And so, sister, I'll just toss it to you. I know this really had you bummed out this morning, and we'll drop an article in there for folks who may not have heard about it to read about it. But what say you?
I don't really even know what to say. So yesterday I was out and about, and Jeff and Rob were here, and I came back, and they're like, "Yo, like, did you hear about this mass shooting in Buffalo? Have you?" Guy went to the black neighborhood, yada yada, that's and so. And I hadn't heard anything at that point, but then, of course, I started, listening, watching the news, listening to different reports, and then I got on social media, and to see the gun that was used, the words that were on the gun, and there were some things on the side that I really could not see, but it looked like it said "Virgin Keeper." And but we know the N word was prominently displayed at 14, which my understanding now is that there's some white supremacist manifesto or credo that has 14 words. And obviously I didn't commit them to memory, but just all of these things. And then again, the insult to injury, because when you read people's comments, it's, for lack of better words, in a lot of ways, we have become desensitized.
Mhm.
And that's the unfortunate piece. Like, we're angry, but many people feel powerless.
Mhm.
And we see the obvious disparities, like the obvious disparities, and then you're like, what do you do about that? And I got to tell you, this morning when before Sunday school, when I turned on the news as well, I'm even angry when I hear that $10 billion, President Obama, President Biden has supposedly, or is committing, or plans to commit $10 billion to, but again, we're giving this to police departments for more, what, weapons, for more cars, for more equipment. I only know how to think about things in certain terms, but I don't know what business model can fail so many times and we put money into it.
Mhm.
That is the I'm sorry, back the blue folks, but the police department experiment has failed. It has been failing for many, many years. And so I don't understand. I don't understand why we're going to dump more money into a
Oh.
failed experiment in order to do what? We're not safer by having more police.
Mhm.
When a 75-year-old woman who's having a health care crisis, a mental health care crisis, is shot to death. A 75-year-old woman with dementia is shot to death. But an
Yes.
18-year-old white supremacist who traveled, oh, what is it, over 300 miles to a very specialized community on a specific day to a specific location, and had apparently had previous threats where he was going to do this at a graduation
Mhm.
before, and it didn't happen, and he didn't do it, but nobody took those threats seriously.
Mhm.
I don't know what to do with that, and I don't know what to do with how he, not a scratch,
Mhm.
not like, at least pretend, y'all. And apparently, there was a security guard that attempted to shoot him, but he had layers and layers of body armor on. But even the imagery this morning, I'm looking at the news, so there's a lot of news, television, trucks and stuff out there, people out there reporting. But when you look at the proximity of this store to the neighborhood itself, one of the things that I read yesterday was, this is a food desert. And so this is the only store that they have nearby to go to. But you see on the perimeter, all of these black people gathered outside. And then you see the line of police officers, predominantly white, who, in my opinion, you're so concerned about keeping the crowds back.
Mhm.
This had happened in their neighborhood. These are their family members, their friends, the people they grew up with. But you're so concerned about that. But again, old boy has not a scratch on him. I don't know what to do with that. All I know, as I put out on Twitter, is we may not be able to do anything about that specific person, if you want to call them a person, but these Tucker Carlsons, these Sean Hannitys, these Laura Ingrams, these Marjorie Taylor Greens, we can do something about them. And we need to do something about them because this ideology is,
Elise Stefanik, the who is a Congress or a woman who represents that area, um, who says she's a MAGA lover. Yeah, something needs to be done.
Yeah. There was another woman, her account got deactivated on Twitter, Laura Loomer or something to that effect, who was like, Planned Parenthood is still targeted and killed more black people, so know your fact. Wait, first of all, please don't tell me. Like I hate that. Like don't do that, girl. Don't try to tell black people about facts that they need to know about what their experiences are. Mm. Um, but on top of that, whew, the audacity and unmitigated gall that at a time of tragedy like this, that you let those words come out of your mouth on social media in such a way. And of course, she's one of these people running for office, and what have you. But like I said, we may not be able to do anything about them, but every one of of Tucker Carlson's advertisers, we should find them out, we should list them, and we should hit them in the pockets. Plain and simple.
Well, that is being done, and
But it ain't been done fast enough because he has been spewing this. I mean, there was I
there's a
think
list on Twitter. I'll have to send it to you. Van
send it to
Lathan
me.
has posted a list on
Good.
Twitter for some of those companies. Now, one of them is one of our banking institution that is an advertiser on that network, and so, but they have a lot of military people who watch that network, so that's obviously their target market.
Well, they better try to change it.
They gonna
But
have to change the target market, right?
I mean, I know I understand you want to advertise for military, but you don't have to advertise in that show.
Right. Yeah. Well, they advertise on the network. I mean, at this point, I think the whole network is terrible.
It is. It's
But I
trash.
will say, so I dropped in in the comments there a link for folks if you had not heard the story of the woman in New Mexico who was shot by the police, who has dementia, had a diagnosis of dementia, and was clearly having an episode in a memory situation, and was had knives in her hand and what have you. So she was having an episode. She was having one of those breaking moments, and yeah, the calling the police to diffuse those type of situations, you just can't do if you want your loved one to be alive. Like
You can't.
that's where we are. Like you can't call the police to diffuse the situation if you want your loved one to be alive. And I know there are we probably run the numbers. There are probably more instances when people have not been killed, but one is enough. Like one is enough.
But it's not even about instances about people getting killed. The problem is, again, you have people who go outside, who are at a traffic stop. I mean, again, we've said this before. It's no way in 2022 you should be getting killed at a traffic stop.
No, you
It's
shouldn't
like
even be stopped at
you
this
shouldn't
point.
even try to stop at this point. Just give me a ticket, run my
The
place, and if
cameras
it's
are everywhere. We have
yeah,
traffic cams everywhere. If you speed and send a ticket in the mail, you got the license plate.
right. And if and I just saw a story about it in San Francisco where this woman was like, "That ain't me. My car was in this lane, not that lane." Then fight it at the courthouse. But we don't even need to be stopping people at this point.
Yeah.
But when we get killed for a traffic stop, unarmed, or when we have a gun and you ask us and we tell you the truth, and we go to show you our license and show you, and you shoot us. When we're at our house sleeping and you bum rush because you in the wrong place, we don't. You can't make it make sense to me
Yeah.
how the real killers with the actual guns and the body armor. First of all, how he got all that is a problem in and of itself, but that's the real killers. Y'all will never be afraid when it's the real killers. How is that possible?
Mm-hmm.
And like some people have said, this is not a matter of training. Because as we're going to talk about your little boy with the whip in just a minute, this is a matter of indoctrination on all sides. This person
It's
was
a matter of
indoctrinated.
training. It's a matter of home training.
Right. But it's a matter of indoctrination on all sides. Then you've been indoctrinated to follow these replacement theories and whatever, which, you know what, if they are being replaced, it's your own doing. Nobody told you to bring millions of Africans over to this country, but you thought you were going to have control of their life for the rest of their life.
Right.
So that's why you didn't count on what could possibly happen. But it's so I just wrap up. It's indoctrination in him with these white supremacist ideologies, and it's indoctrination in these police officers that somehow an unarmed black person is still more dangerous than a heavily armed white person.
Mm, yeah. Well, our friend Leslie Honore, she's been a guest on the show. I'm gonna drop the link in the Instagram. I reposted her poem. I'm also gonna drop the link so y'all can buy her poetry, check her out. But her poem today was so poignant, and I just want to read a couple lines. It says, America, come get your children, the ones you're so proud of, the ones wearing stars and stripes, buying guns like candy, the ones dripping with white privilege that you created with red blood from brown skin. America, come get your children, come get your kids, the ones flying flags of defeat, of history long dead, of a life they wish they had, of superiority they believe they have, the lies you whispered in their ears as you rocked them to sleep. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. And it goes on from there. I would encourage you all to read it, reshare it, tweet it, all of it. It is a very, I mean, she always finds the words. And I be like, girl, how you find the words so fast? Because my brain still be processing what happened. But she found the words. And since we're talking about America, come get your kids. Um, there's a story out there, and I saw this Friday. I think I saw it Thursday or Friday. This young boy, 7, 8 year old, goes to these people's house. I don't know what incident might have happened at school, walking home from school, whatever. But a young white boy goes, knocks on a black family's door with a whip in his hand.
First of all, he pounded on the door. Then he was hitting the door with the whip.
Hitting the door.
First of
Yeah.
all, who just again
Who
indoctrinated?
has whips?
Who has whip still? Look, I don't know what his mom and daddy into. So, but that's sad that they don't even got the good sense to put the stuff up.
So, I mean, I am, and it's on Ring video. You can see him at there pounding on the door, like demanding for somebody to come out. And the woman was like, "Little boy, you better get away from my door."
Uh-oh.
Now, luckily, she had.
Oh, sister, I don't know if it's me or you,
Oh,
but the people have stopped us.
really? What happened?
All right, sister. The people was trying to get us. Go ahead,
Oh,
continue.
I was like, what? So, when the husband came home later to then go confront the other adult, because they also said he scratched their vehicle.
Right,
I was like, brother, that was not the wisest choice. Luckily, we didn't see him get killed.
right.
um but nonetheless, the father comes out. How you know it's a, we got video. They got video. We know it was your son. Like we know what happened. And he comes out with a gun, and has his hand with his gun behind his back. Then he want to act like he about to bow up, like go to put
Right.
the gun
Like
down.
he about that life. He
And
was
then when the
not.
brother was like, "Well, you about that life? Come on, be about that life." And then he
Then
go grab his gun again
gun
and then discharges the weapon.
about to
And
kill himself and everybody else.
right, and that's when he was later arrested for illegally discharging that weapon. Because I think originally when they called the police, we dropped the link to the story there. I believe when they originally called the police were like, it's gonna work itself out. They did call the police on that. I think the police were like, oh, it'll work
But
itself.
again, we can't call the police. This is
No,
what we can't call the police. They're not
they're not coming to protect you.
coming to protect us or to serve us. They already gonna come in with the attitude like it ain't wrong. Listen, if
And
they
I'm not gonna
had
say all police. So let's say that. We know that. Like,
listen,
let's just put some assumptions out there.
okay, I'm not doing all that. Let me tell you why.
Okay, come on.
Because if a doctor kills somebody and I talk about bad malpractice and bad doctors, I ain't talking about every doctor. But hell, if the shoe fit, wear it.
Wear it.
So we not talking. I don't have to say we not talking about all police, because if you're not one of them police, then you should know that. But at the same time, if you ain't one of them police, what you doing to get at your people who are those police? Because there's a lot of y'all who being way too silent about this BS. Now, listen, had that little girl went over to their house, to that white person's house, banging on their door aggressively like that, what could have happened to her?
Right.
That little boy should have got his behind whooped. And you know what I really want to say off top, because you putting yourself, who you think you are, coming up to, again, no home training, because you would never raise up on an adult like that in that fashion. But okay, he would have learned that day. But
He lucky that a hand didn't reach out and gather him.
or grab that whip out of his hand and start swinging on him.
And
Since
whipped his
you
butt.
since you big and bold, just like your pa, big and bold, want to come out the house. But no, I can't trust the police to do the right things. Just like I said, with regards to my own neighborhood, when I'm at the HOA meeting and this president is, well, I mean, I just call the police. I just call the police. Well, you're a white man in America. You can do that. But if I call the police and somebody decides that, oh, this neighborhood doesn't look like one that she belongs in, I have a very different experience than you. So no, I can't just call the police. But that little boy had all kind of brazen energy, and
Well, someone dropped here said he went to the wrong house. So probably he did go to the wrong house because you could
do
hear
you
that
mean, do you
exchange.
really literally mean he went to the wrong house, or do you he went to the wrong house as in the right house for somebody who didn't knock him out? Because which one is
Which one is it?
it?
I don't know because he might have went to the right house or the wrong house on the right day.
That right? Because that, like you
But
said,
I
that
don't know if
was
it was he went to the wrong house because they were like, our son didn't do nothing to your son because our son is
son is
13. They don't
13
even
years
go to
old
school together.
and don't even go to school together, right? But then if he literally went to the wrong house, this is why I'm even more ticked off with the father, because you, like the brother was saying, I'm trying to talk to you like a man about this. Exactly, that's what I felt like you meant. um, this brother's like, I'm trying to talk to you like a man, and you raising up, and you come out with a gun. So I just don't understand some of this attitude where people have, where they always try to act like we so violent. Really? But you came outside with a gun when your raggedy child went over to these people's house with a whip. And then what you thought you was really gonna do with that whip? Did he really think that mama was gonna let her child, whether it was the big boy or the daughter or whoever, did what he really think she was gonna, like, yeah, come on, go outside. Uh, Anyway,
So again,
that little boy lucky his soul didn't get snatched up out of his body. That's all I'm gonna say and leave it at that.
so again, in the words of Leslie Honore, get your children because you all are losing your collective minds. And that's one of the hallmarks in her poem as well. You think you gonna hurt us? You're hurting yourself. Your bigotry, your hatred, your
Yeah, because y'all keep as much as y'all hate us, how y'all family members keep ending up with brown children? That's what I don't understand.
how, Sway. And it says America. Her last line in the poem says, America, come get your children before they burn this stolen land down and you with it. Because that's what's happening. That's what's happening. Y'all are tuned in live right now to Hey Sister, and we are talking about some of the crazy things that have been going on these last few days in the news cycle. It's been a lot out here in the street. So we're gonna stick in Texas for a little while because the boy with the whip was in Texas. Let's talk about Texas. Texas blackouts. So you have blackouts when it's cold because you still got the same damn jacked up power grid. They obviously ain't made the improvements that were necessary. And now it's hot and we gonna lose power again. Because too many people are turning their AC on. Well, they got AC at their house because it's hot when it gets hot. And yes, they don't want to have it on 78 like I do. So they're like, listen, again, I've dropped the link in the comments several times for vote.org. If you are not registered, if you are wondering about your registration, if you want to confirm your registration, you need to update your mailing address. You need to update your driver license, anything that you need to update. If you've moved anything, find out where you got to vote. Vote.org, because it is going to be so necessary at all of these levels. So the situation with these police, that starts with your sheriffs and your county commissions, and your mayors. These issues with power grids and infrastructure, that starts with your state legislators, your congressmen, your senators, your governor. At all of these levels, we have to flip a whole lot of things because this is absolutely unconscionable. I don't know. What do you say, sister?
I say it's 104 degrees here today.
Mm.
And so let me see what it says on according to my phone. It was at 5:03 p.m. I'm gonna update it. Okay, 5:29 p.m. That's 104 degrees. It's too damn hot out here for these power grids to be taxed to the point that they can't be utilized
Mm.
properly. Now, I get it. Texas and their privatization of their utilities and all that stuff. But here's my thing. Now, I'm going to use Entergy in Louisiana as an example.
Come on with it.
There's Now I know they do some funny business with Entergy of Louisiana versus Entergy New Orleans and all that stuff. Okay, they've split them off and what have you. So technically, they're not the same company, but you got the same logo and you the same company for me. Um, After Hurricane Ida, most recently, okay, we saw many things happen to the power grid as well. It was significantly, we saw when we were at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Power lines down, poles split in half. And our immediate thought, or one of the things we talked about, is why is this stuff still in the air anyway?
Mm-hmm.
Why is this not underground anyway? And clearly it's underground in some places. So why is this not underground? And of course, in the conversation we had with our dad, he's like, well, they'll say it's too expensive, and if they move it from the the lines, the power lines that put it underground, they got to pass that cost off to the consumer. Newsflash, they keep passing the cost off to the consumer anyway.
Anyway.
So why then are we not demanding that they give us something in return? You keep telling us that you gotta pay, because every time they need to do an increase, it's because they're supposedly investing in the infrastructure, right? Where's that money really going? Because clearly it ain't being, they're not investing in infrastructure. Now we have this whole infrastructure bill, right? We have all these folks who voted against it, but they talking about look at us because we bringing all this money to your state. You ain't even vote for the thing, but now you're
Mhm.
trying to take credit for it. But if these monies don't end up in the right places, you're still gonna have these same issues over and over and over again. So now, just like I was just telling you on Twitter, because people think they know better than everybody, but no, never mind that I actually work in with people who do this on a regular basis. Because to modernize a grid, you need computers and chips and things like that. So, but never mind that. But then people always talk about EVs, electrical vehicles. Oh, we gotta all go to electrical vehicles. Listen, that would be great. But if Texas power grid can't handle the sunshine and the snow, as irregular as that happens, um, if they can't handle the stuff that they was built to handle, how they gonna handle electrical vehicles? How you just gonna put, if we all literally were to go out and buy an EV, how you think how you gonna charge it up? All that's y'all worry about not having because you're accustomed to gas stations, not having charging stations along the highway, even if you have them. But they're gonna be connected to a raggedy grid. Like, come on. I don't understand how people are not just demanding what we, and maybe I'm thinking about this the wrong way, but we all pay utilities all the time. Why don't we just say, you know what? We not paying. They could only turn off the lights on so many of us. After a while, they gonna have to do something different. Cause if we not paying, then they not making no money. But I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know when we come together. But no, we're never gonna come together because that's the American way, discord and foolery.
Well, I think that too often people look at these issues as if they're separate issues and they never look for the connective tissue
Yes.
in some of these issues, right?
Right, like environmental, like again, it's 104 degrees here today. They
Yeah.
said this is 10 degrees higher than the normal at this time of year. The last time this happened, I think they said like 1923. So yes, it has happened before. But I just personally think maybe if we all stop drinking water out of water bottles and like plastic bottles and reduce our plastic uh, usage, we could do make an impact on the environment that's greater than, oh, let's all buy electrical vehicles. But I could be wrong with that. If we just fix the water supply in many of these places,
I mean,
uh,
California is already on fire.
California on fire, Arizona, well, we using their water.
Yeah.
Nevada, we using their water. The what is it? The Hoover Dam is like way below
Hmm.
its typical level.
Yeah. Lake Mead, they
Lake
said
Mead,
they starting to find bodies.
right? Got bones just out there. Like, wait a minute, we were
They
just
thought they thought they was buried.
right.
They
Okay.
find the people who've been thrown in the lakes a long time ago.
Right. And so it's like, but like you said, it's the interconnectivity, of all of these issues when it comes to the environment, and don't even get into environmental racism and all of those things. So, but again, honestly, I look at countries, I know that they like to say stuff, places like China, North Korea, in Russia. Only these communist countries where everything is controlled can keep their people in check, so to speak, right? But Jeff and I were talking about Singapore. Obviously, they have put some laws into place. Crime is not an issue. Money is not an issue. Pollution ain't an issue. Why are we not looking at what some of the practices of those places? And if it's only because freedom allows you to be raggedy, then that's a problem. Because that's the only thing. Like if quote unquote freedom allows you to be raggedy, like you just throw trash anywhere, like you just utilize 25%. Your country takes up, like, has a carbon footprint, and we utilize 25% of make up 25% of the carbon footprint. But we have countries like, again, Madagascar, that you use a 1%, and they got in famine because of climate change.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know when we stop being raggedy, but I think at the heart of it and root of it is this American experiment that was intended supposedly to be the land of the free and the home of the brave. Is we're too steeped in, again, the last line of Leslie's point. We're too steep in our racism, in our hate, in our divisiveness, um, to find the commonality and work for the greater good.
Hmm.
So we're gonna burn it down instead.
Literally and figuratively, it's already on fire.
Yes.
Yeah, it's already on fire. So yeah, there is connective tissue in all of these issues, but yeah, as you said, the undergird of a lot of it stems back to racism. It stems back to our founding, and not founding, but our landing on a nation and many nations of people, and never doing right
Right.
by them, um, landing on another continent, to then enslave people for prospering yourself to the detriment of other human beings, never dealt with. And as we titled this show today, here we go again. So we have to decide what we want to do about it. I don't know. That's what my brain is. We got to decide what we want to do, who we want to be.
Yeah. Unfortunately, um, again, empty wagons make the most noise, and unfortunately, I feel like we're okay with empty wagons making the noise and running the government, and polluting our collective conscious, and just all the foolery. And we've seemed to, and again, it's partially because we're tired, right?
Mhm.
When you don't see a lot of things changing, when we're like still singing "We Shall Overcome," when we're looking at the experiences of our grandparents, and although we may have had some improvements, in a lot of ways we've stayed stagnant, and in a lot of ways, literally, we have fallen behind.
Yes.
And now home ownership is one of those areas where we've actually fallen behind. So it's I don't know. I don't know when we, like I said before, when it comes to voting, I'm at the point where it's like I wanna vote for the greater of two greats instead of the lesser of two evils.
Mhm.
Let's go and talk about this John McCain article then. Because speaking of,
I don't have. I need to find it. Y'all join the conversation in the comments here. We would love to hear from you on any of the things that we've talked about so far this evening. We talked about the mass shooting in Buffalo, New York, white supremacists or perceived white supremacists, um, going into a black neighborhood, traveling distance to go and to murder black people, similarly to what was done in El Paso a few years ago. Um, yeah,
right,
Yeah, we talked about that. We here we go again. We talked about the perpetuation of, because people have this thing, oh well, the kids are going to be better. Well, we have a boy who decides to go carry a whip to somebody's house and bang on their door with all of the arrogance and privilege that you have the audacity of mendacity to go knock on somebody's door. If y'all know what mendacity is, that's lies. But you have the audacity and mendacity to go knock on somebody's door with some foolishness. Then you have, yeah, continuation of the intersection of climate and blackouts and power grids and politicians, and not doing the right thing, and humanity is impacted. So those are the things that we talked about so far. And so the next thing we I guess we gonna get into is, I gotta drop this article here in the comments here, is it's been a very interesting week. So if you don't follow Steve Schmidt on Twitter, it's been very interesting. He wrote this article and on his Substack, because I guess he's been getting harassed and been getting called out. So Steve Schmidt was a campaign manager for John McCain during the 2008 election. So he came on and was elevated in that campaign when he was kind of behind and trying to get him back on track. He and Nicole Wallace, who's currently on MSNBC, they were on there together, on that campaign together. But Steve just came out and said, "Listen, I can't carry these lies no more. I Y'all lying on me, y'all talking about me and my family, and I'm just not gonna carry your water no more." And how he had to learn the difference between loyalty and integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And that petulant uh child with that last name McCain, who used to be on a TV show called The View, he talked about, the conversation, like, I'm tired of you've been a bully, you've always been a bully. People had to tell you to get in check. And how Cindy and John was like, we raised two wonderful sons. Girl,
That
I
was funny.
huh?
That was funny.
Yes. So, yeah, it was very interesting. But what he does in this article, he really links back even then, like Rick Davis, Paul Manafort, this lobbyist, this Russian lobbyist who John McCain had a relationship with and lied to the American people about having that relationship. Um, all the things that we're seeing now in this conflict with Russia and Ukraine, how it goes way back.
Mm-hmm.
Way back. And I know the Maverick and the Straight Talker and all of that, all the mythology. Um, he's like, I've held these for
Lies. I've held your lies for
I've
all
held your
these years.
lies for over 14 years, and I'm not gonna hold them anymore.
No more. Right.
And he's like, look, I'm converting to Judaism. I'm just freeing myself of everything. I'm freeing myself of it all. Like, I'm done.
Right.
So it's been, yes, honey, the shade in that article. Wait till you click on it and read it. It it's very telling. And there are people who are coming after him now, like, oh, why are you not telling me? Why are you saying all this now? And oh, if it was true, blah blah blah. I'm like, no, when somebody come and write something like that, because the way it's written, you just read it and you like, yeah, that's the truth. That's his truth for sure, right? And whether all the events are exactly the same or how the circumstances played out are exactly the same, uh, it's true.
I mean, we saw the show. It was fictionalized, but the show that was it on Showtime or HBO about the John McCain campaign when because I didn't, of course, know Nicole Wallace at that time. I knew she was on The View, but didn't know that she had worked on that campaign. And he references them, Nicole Wallace as well in the article on how this family just kept attacking them, and people kept
Mhm.
attacking their integrity and what have you, as if blaming them for the Sarah Palin pick and all these things. And if you remember that show, again, I cannot think of the name of it, but they
It
talked
was
about
called
all that.
Game Changer
Okay.
because it's
Well,
based on a book. It's based on a book by John Howman and Meacham. I can't remember because Meacham got fired too from for sexual harassment issues. John Meacham. John Howman
okay.
and John Meacham. Game Changer.
Well, there you go. I mean, so we know at least some of it. And then he was apologizing to the people who wrote the New York Times article. So, I mean, you don't just apologize to people who wrote an article and say, yeah. You don't do that under these circumstances. But what's the other fella? Now, this new person, because I did think, okay, yeah, like some people will always say, well, why are you saying it now? Because John McCain is dead. He can't defend himself. He can't speak up against it. I mean, Cindy McCain could say if she know if her husband was cheating on her or not. I mean, because I'm sure that came up if there was concern that it could ruin the campaign.
He says there he talked to both him and Sidney. He told him that this is yes, I had a relationship with this person for long. At first he denied it, and
But
then
he
he
said that she was his friend, and
yeah.
so in which the woman, I mean, and then she's suicidal. Like, you don't be suicidal over your friends. I hope not. Like, not like that. But I don't want you to be suicidal ever. But I'm just saying, you don't get to that point over somebody calling you a friend if it's, you know, if you're really their friend. So, but what this fella who another one who just wrote another book about Trump. First of all, I'm mad at all the people who keep writing books about Trump though. He was this is the latest book about Trump
I
that
don't know.
I think he was he his not national security. Oh
Oh,
man,
you talking about Esper, who was at the Pentagon. You talking
yeah,
about Esper?
yeah. Oh, everybody got
One of
something
the
to say.
generals. Hmm.
Now, in those cases, I got more problem with it because in this situation, to your point, there is a long history of the Ukraine and Russian relationship that really and truly, because none of these things are ever addressed, because people are just running to be in a position of power. They really don't care about the United States. They don't care about her citizens. They don't care about this being a more perfect union, because it's all about money and greed and power and control. We find ourselves seeing now this Russian aggression play out. Um, but John McCain is dead in this case. But all these people who write books about Trump, when it was that was in the recent past, and those things should have. I don't know where all those people were when there were investigations and impeachment.
But the problem is, some of them say they will still vote for his ass because he a Republican, because he got an R by his name.
Which,
That's
yeah,
why people of good conscience go to vote.org and make sure your registration is straight. Because come November for these midterm, first for the primaries that's going to be happening in August in most places.
yeah,
Like
I got
it all has to flip. Like this, try to flip like Jesus. We walking up in the temple. Hell no. We flipping tables. We throwing
you.
chairs. We tossing the money. Get it all of it has to go just to get people to wake up. And I know they like to take the word woke, but some of y'all, we can't be sleeping on, we can't sleep
We can't be
because
asleep at the wheel.
because here, let's talk about this abortion opinion leak. So we know they say it's not final and this, that, and the third and whatever. Let me just say this. If you don't think, if you think that you're protected I have another thing coming for you.
Protected from what?
If you think that your rights are protected, if
Oh,
you
okay.
think that your health care is protected, if you think that your decision making for your life and your body and who you choose to marry is protected, if you think that how your children are educated and that integration and all of these things are protected, you got another thing coming. If you think Loving versus Virginia is settled law, like Roe v. Wade was settled law, it is not settled law.
Well,
Now we
according
don't
to
know where this is ultimately gonna end and where it's gonna land, but the blueprint, and then the blueprint is being laid. The blueprint is being laid. And so I say, folks, you better wake up. Hello,
well,
if they will come for one, they will come for us all. Your group is likely next. Absolutely. They are
whatever your
about to
group
try and
is.
overturn everything. Yes, Lakeisha, they want you and me. I'm too old to be a handmaid, so I won't be a handmaid. I don't know where they're gonna send me because I'm speaking up now, child. I don't know where they're gonna send me. But if y'all think that we this slowly losing first of all, this is what I want to say, because I got all discombobulated. But let me say this. Let me say this very clearly. This the conversation about abortion is so off kilter. I believe that people who believe in pro-choice need to be talking about health. This is a healthcare issue.
Hmm.
This is about access to healthcare. This is about because even some of these states now they've passed laws in the last couple weeks to outlaw even the plan B. This is a healthcare issue. And period, full stop. And what you do with your healthcare, these are the same folks who they was yelling my body my choice about a mask, and they didn't want to have the vaccine because it had a chip in it. But see, those are the same ones who gonna have access to abortion because they'll be able to fly out of this country and fly all over. They'll know where the maps are, just like how they know where the maps are to find black neighborhoods to target to shoot. They gonna know where the maps are to find where they want to go get abortions for their daughters and their wives and their mistresses. This is
Yeah,
about the health care of women.
yeah, it is. It's
Yes, we have a lot of Serena Joys out there, a whole and Aunt Lydia's, a whole bunch of.
we do. So, like you, I have a whole lot of thoughts on this. I wanted to say to the point about the Serena Joys, and the Aunt Lydias. I was in the gym the other day, and on the television screen, I saw four pictures of white males in Congress. One I know was Jim Jordan. I can't remember the others because just the image of these four white men and this conversation about abortion being on the screen did something to me internally. At that moment, my reaction was, if these are decisions you want to make for the Serena Joys and the Aunt Lydias of the world, do that. Do you? But as a black person, as what I'm certain to be a descendant of American enslaved people on this soil, you've already regulated our bodies before. You've already beaten us and bloodied us and raped us and bred us, made our people sleep with their sons so that you can create a better slave. You have
taking our cells
taking ourselves
and
and
created life-saving medications for years and years and years to come and never compensated.
never compensated and never saved the life of the person who you took all those things from. On a regular basis, our lives are in the most precarious of situations, particularly when, as Black women, we're carrying children, when we are
Yes.
carrying life. So it's like, again, the caucasity of it all, to think that white men deserve or should be in a position to make decisions when it comes to legislating Black bodies. You've done this to us before, and I can't say no other way, but I'd be damned if you do it again, because you don't get it's like, how dare you? How dare you think it's okay to tell us what to do with our bodies? And to your point, a healthcare situation, because every abortion ain't cause I won't have a baby.
No.
Okay. And the idea that women enter into these decisions lightly is ridiculous. But you got a situation right now in California where a Black man is fighting because with the hospital, because he said they allow his wife to die. She was in pain. She was having these experiences, and his wife died. So how dare you, you white males in Congress and Alito, and even if you are supported by Serena Joy, aka Amy Comey Barrett, no, you're not telling us what else to do with our bodies. Because in a similar situation, there was an image that I saw on social media, and it said, when there was a baby food shortage in the past, this is how white people dealt with it. And it's images of Black women, nursing their baby and a white baby, or
Being
nursing
wet
white
nurses.
babies.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have already controlled us and our bodies and our ability to reproduce and who we can reproduce with. And many of y'all thinking ancestors we did not want to reproduce with. So how dare you? That's one of the many feelings that I have about this subject. If Serena Joy want to be regulated, God bless, let her be regulated. I don't, because ain't none of y'all doctors, and it's hard enough for us to get decent medical care from quote unquote trained professionals. It's hard enough for our pain to be taken seriously. So who the hell are you to tell us what we can and cannot do that's best for our bodies? Mm.
And best for our lives, because as they say, most of the people who end up having abortion are women who already have children.
Sister, you cutting out on my side. I don't know if you said most of the people who end up having an abortion is what?
Are women who already have children.
Yeah, I mean, there's been countless people who've had conversations. One lady was saying, she and her husband already had 4 kids. I think she got pregnant at 45 years old with the last child, and they had to have an abortion because it was like, we are not able to do this. And there's a whole lot of other, again, health issues. I know people think having a baby is the easiest thing in the world. Like, clearly all these men think this is the easiest thing in the
Oh,
world.
it's just because if some it got as guy if something happened, if you die, whatever. But then y'all who takes care of the baby?
Baby, right. And y'all don't even want people to be on government assistance. Y'all don't want to. You don't want, like, okay. So then this is what I'll say this, and Amanda Seals posted about this the other day because somebody made a stupid comment to her, but she actually liked my comment. My response was, if you don't want an abortion, don't get one. If you don't want an abortion, don't get one. But also, if you say you're pro-life, then be that at all stages of life. That means be pro education, be pro eradication of poverty, be pro criminal justice reform, pro pay equity. That people are really out here saying they are pro life, and pro death penalty in the same breath baffles me. To hear the governor of Arizona, Mark Ducey, try to uh, split hairs on how pro life is about preserving innocent life, but the death penalty is okay because those people have been convicted of crimes, as if no one has ever met the fate of the death penalty
Who's
who
been innocent?
who wasn't innocent. Right. I don't even know how y'all make this shit up in y'all head. That's the truth. I don't know how they make it up in their head. Like, what? Did you say that out loud and that made sense to you? But
Oh
apparently it
my goodness.
does.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. We got a comment here. Let me share that one. And we got a couple more topics. So we're going to go a little bit over here. It says, it scares me to think that we will go back to extremists exerting violence at healthcare centers if it gets overturned. Yeah. Yeah. Because again, as we titled the show today, here we go again.
Right.
Here
We
we
don't
go.
want to learn from history. We just want to keep repeating it. And this is why I'm really convinced, me and Jeff were talking about this. I'm really convinced that God keeps putting new generations on this earth for us to get it right. And we just keep messing up. We just keep messing it up.
Messing it up. All right, I had popped this up on this for a second. You hit on it a little bit about the baby formula shortage, and it's very interesting. This shortage is not new. It has just reached reached a climax. This started a while back because Abbott. So Abbott's had a few issues recently. Abbott is the largest producer of baby formula, but there was some contamination in some
Mm,
formula that they had to take some things offline because actually I think two babies died.
mm-hmm.
So that happened. We was still like, I'm thinking that might have happened in 2020. I would have to go back and actually look at the date when it happened. It happened a while ago. And a lot of the formulas are like those specialty level formulas. So anyway, this has been a slow moving explosion, and now it has reached the point where it has exploded. um I started thinking about, well, what did people do before formula? I know formula has been around a very, very long time, but what did really people do before formula became mass produced and mass available? And I
Right.
was trying to figure out what happened. I know about wet nurses, and I know about, there are even what other things that they do, because it started with, I think, like condensed milk is what they used to
Mm-hmm.
use, remember? Or even that carnation, the powdered milk. There were other things that were used along the way before they got to formula, being mass produced and mass available. It's tragic. It is really tragic. But again, like I said, there's a connective tissue to all of this. People who are wealthy are not having problems getting formula. People who are wealthy are not worried about gas prices. They still have access. They're going, online and ordering from other countries around the world and getting their formula through Amazon and what have you. Now, some of them it's being marked up, but hey, they can afford the markup. They have access. I would hope that more con- states around this country would have milk banks, because there are people who do milk banking. There's some that do have milk banks. I know Texas was one that did have a milk bank, because that started when I was working there. I remember when we launched the milk bank. Um, there are, uh, but if you are so insular and self focused and not community focused, you're gonna do like you did with the toilet paper. You're gonna hoard toilet paper. You're gonna hoard formula and not think about the collective. You're still worrying about just you getting somewhere versus, hey, can we carpool?
Mm-hmm.
To me, there's connective tissue and all of that, and that is the individualism and the narcissism, that goes along with thinking that we are not a community. But that's just my 2 cents.
All I'll add is that, I am probably becoming a conspiracy theorist, but I just don't understand how um, these supply chain issues seemingly keep impacting certain people in certain communities and certain products, but other products, people seemingly get just fine. So, um, to your point, it's all connected, but um, it feels to me, I hate to say it, but all these inflationary prices, it just all feels to me like these big companies are trying to create scarcity in order to drive up the prices in order to make up for the losses from 2 years ago.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I'm a
Well,
conspiracy
you can,
theorist to the core.
again, I will share, I'll drop a article in here. I actually, this recall was from this year. But there's been multiple recalls that have occurred related to formula. And so, again, this just didn't start. There was an issue, and there was an FDA recall, and that's because a couple, I think, two infants died. So there's more to this story, but I don't disagree with you. I do believe that while the last week we've seen where the stock market, people started selling off because of the Fed actually responding and raising interest rates and stuff like that, what the demand has been still high. And so with the demand being high, many of these companies have tried, and not only have they tried, they have made up many of their losses from 2 years ago. Always look at how they've paid out their stockholders. You look at the profit margins that they have had. Look at their CEO compensation, and you will see whether or not some of this is strictly being driven by greed. And that some of it is strictly being driven by greed in terms of these inflationary pressures in the marketplace. Some of it's not sheer supply and demand. That's why I say, hey, everybody carpool. Everybody say, you know what? We not driving nowhere on Fridays. You start putting some pressure on the demand. You start lowering that demand. The prices coming down.
Well, also, all these companies that's making folks go back to work now say, no, we're not going back to work. We are staying at home because we're not going to be putting this extra.
Gas too high. We
Gas is
staying
too
at
high.
home.
I'm staying at my house. Like, I don't understand. You
I don't
already,
work from 2 years from home. Might as
from home,
well. Why?
what's the
Why go
difference
back now?
now? Right. You made your money. But again, we're in it's the great recession. I mean, the great, what it is, the resignation, the great
Resignation.
resignation. We have all these people who supposedly are not applying for jobs. They got all these jobs that are available. We seemingly keep printing money because we keep sending it out of the country. We haven't eradicated poverty or addressed homelessness, but we are finding money to send to support others. And I'm not hating on those what's happening, but I'm just saying we have seemingly found money for a lot of things. So many people ain't working because they just not even. So we have all this endless supply of jobs available, but prices are through the roof. Gas prices are through the roof. Food prices, and then there's food shortages, and then there's baby formula, like all this stuff happening. Wow, this is, and it's just very intriguing how all of it is happening at this time. It just is very intriguing. I've got questions. So,
I got questions too, sister. Well, we're gonna I wanted to talk a little bit about Kendrick Lamar, Mr. Morale, and the Big Steppers, but we'll save that for next week. And but it
hmm.
is Mental Health Awareness Month. And recently, Naomi Judd, not Naomi Judd. Naomi is the daughter. I can't remember the mama's name now. Naomi and Ashley are the two daughters. What's the
No, I
mama's
thought
name?
Winona was the daughter.
Oh, Winona is the daughter. That's right. Naomi is the mom. Yeah. Yeah. Winona and Ashley are the two daughters. Naomi Judd, um, who suffered from depression for many, many years, took her life. And I was watching, I guess, CBS the other morning, and the young lady who was Miss America, her mom was on. She also took her life. It's really sad. Um, and so it is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so I would just like to say to people that if you are struggling, find help. If you are feeling overwhelmed, I posted something about burnout. Long before you reach burnout, you start having those feelings of overwhelm and stress. Get help. Find a counselor, find a coach, find a support system and a mechanism to help you manage and navigate the strains and stressors of life. We're all dealing with life. I wanted us to talk about even This Is Us and get into the last two episodes, um, because there are people who are also dealing with loved ones who are aging
Hmm.
and maybe dealing with dementia and their own mental and physical decline, which adds a whole lot of other stress in families and what have you. So there's a lot that people are dealing with out there. And I would just really strongly encourage people to seek help. Um, Seek help, seek support, and yeah, that's all I have to say on that. I don't know what if you want to add something, sister.
The only thing I would say, before we had switched over, Arnetta had a comment that I thought was very uh, important as well, just especially because like she does have a mother who she's helping to take care of. Um, the only thing I would say in terms of mental health, as you know, I'm a graduate of Southern University, and there was a young lady who was a
Yes.
cheerleader, a freshman at Southern University, also from the state of Texas, who recently took her own life. And I was very disturbed by that story because she, I looked through her images on Instagram, and it's like before you see a suicide note posted, you look at all these pictures of this beautiful young woman who's seemingly very vibrant, who looked to be pretty popular, had a lot of great things going for herself. And it makes you question when people say, check on your strong friends, for example. Sometimes I don't think people even know how to check on their strong friends, because if your strong friends are appearing to be okay, how do you know that they aren't? you
Mhm.
know and then so to see all of these images and then this suicide note, um especially because she was so young, I just encourage young people, please, please, please. We talked about that prefrontal cortex. We talk about not even being fully mature to make these kind of decisions, make decisions before the age of 25. Like, you should really not be making really life altering decisions before the age of 25. And so just because your brain hasn't fully developed, so to think, like, before you make long term decisions for a short term situation, please talk to someone.
Mhm.
In the case of Naomi Judd, similar to what I read from this young woman, one of the things that she said in the note was, she had been praying, and she said, I guess the devil won, or something to that effect. And that is just so heartbreaking, because too often we want people to rely on their religion or their spirituality or their relationship with God only. And I always believe that this is a plural conversation. It's not just about one thing. It is about how do we rely on our spirituality? How do we create a support system? How do we utilize therapy? How do we do all of these things as opposed to just one or the other? So um, and so it seemed like there were voices in her head telling her that no matter what she did, it wasn't good enough in the similar way that Ashley Judd mentioned about her mother. She was just inducted or going to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it's like that wasn't enough to save her, and that's what was very disturbing to me. So I just say know that you matter to someone. Someone is loving, whether you talk to them recently or not, someone loves you, someone values you, someone thinks you're really important, someone wants you to be here. And so, to your point, before you make a decision, a life altering decision, please seek help. Please seek help.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And there is help out there. And um, we have to, again, if we are attempting to do this thing called life alone, it's not possible.
Right.
It's just not possible. So, um, find community, find support, be honest and transparent about the highs and the lows, and know that just because you are, you're worthy. Just because you are. So with that, we're going to sign off for tonight for this episode of Hey Sister. We all will be crying Tuesday on this second to last episode of This Is Us, because honey, oh Lord,
We
live.
can talk about it next Sunday. We'll prepare
Oh, we have a
ourselves.
guest next Sunday. We're gonna do a special episode or something. Because I'm
Okay,
telling you,
well, we'll do a special
This
episode,
Is Us
sister.
is gonna take us out.
But here's the thing I'll say
Mandy
is
Moore said when she read the script for this episode, she physically got ill, like
sick. Yeah, no.
literally.
She got sick. So it's gonna be a tearjerker. But to everybody in the Hey Sister family, I just want you all to know we value you and we love you. And I appreciate y'all all being here, being in the comments, because this is therapy for us too.
Amen to that. With that, we signing off. Good night, everybody.
Good night.